Your ROAS is up, your agency is celebrating, and your dashboards are green. And somehow you're making less money than what you were making 6 months ago. If this sounds familiar, you're not crazy and you're not alone. This happens to D2C brands every single day. And the reason it happens is simple. ROAS is not a business metric, it's a platform metric. And platforms designed to keep you spending, not to keep you profitable. In this video, I'm going to show you how exactly a healthy ROAS can coexist with a dying business, what's actually happening under the hood, and the only number that tells you the truth if paid media is working or not. Quick context before we dive in. My name is Alexander. I run Titan Agency. We're a full-stack D2C agency. We've worked with hundreds of brands over the past 6 years, and last year we generated 20 million in contribution margin for our clients. Not top-line revenue, contribution margin. I'm not here to talk about how to improve your ROAS and how to scale your ads. I'm here to talk about profit, because that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Okay, so let's start with ROAS. ROAS stands for return on ad spend. If you spend 10K and you generate 50K, that's gonna be 5 ROAS. And it looks great on paper, but here is what ROAS doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you your COGS, it doesn't tell you your fulfillment costs, it doesn't tell you your return rates, it doesn't tell you your processing fees, it doesn't tell you how much you pay to your agency, it doesn't tell you your app stack, team costs, none of it. ROAS tells you one thing: for every dollar that you put in, how many you get back in revenue. That's it. That's the whole metric. And here is where it gets dangerous. Platforms like Meta and Google report ROAS based on their attribution setting, meaning they take credit for every sale that happened within their attribution window. For Meta, that ranges from 1 to 7 days, and on Google can go all the way up to 30. So if a customer saw your ad on Facebook on Monday, they joined your email list, they engaged with a few emails, and then they converted through Google on Sunday, all of the paid platforms will count their customer towards their ROAS number. You're not getting double the customers, you're getting double counted. This is not a glitch, this is just how attribution works. And it means that the ROAS number in your ads manager, it's always higher than it should be. One of the ways to avoid this is to use third-party tools like Triple, so you can choose how you want the attribution to happen. Do you want it first click, last click, linear, and there are many more options that you can choose from. It really depends on what you're optimizing for. Now let's talk about CAC, because this is where the gap happens between your dashboard and what's actually happening. Platform CAC is your ads manager reporting. It takes your ad spend and divides it by the amount of new customers acquired. Again, considering that the platform will most likely be over attributing, I highly recommend that you look at Blended CAC. So total new customers versus total spend. This is the only metric that you know is going to be 100% true, because you always know how much you spent on ads, regardless of which platform, and you always know how many new customers you have acquired. When you always do this math and compare the CAC on specific platform versus the blended CAC, there's always going to be a gap. And the gap matters a lot, because your whole profitability model is built around how profitable you are on your first order. Now, in some cases, this is going to range, because there's a lot of big businesses that are okay with losing money on the first order because they have a really strong LTV. But I recommend this only if you're very confident in your ability to convert customers again and you have a strong LTV. For most businesses, this is not going to be the case. Okay, so established that ROAS is over attributing on platform level. We also now understand that CAC on platform level also is not correct. Now let's talk about what you need to be looking at to understand if your business is healthy, and that is contribution margin. Contribution margin is what is left after you subtract your variable costs from your revenue. The formula is very simple. You take revenue minus cost of goods, minus fulfillment, minus payment process, minus ad spend. And what's left, that's your contribution margin. And let me give you an example with all of the numbers that we have discussed. Let's say a brand generates 200,000 a month at 4 ROAS. The team is happy, the agency is calling it a win, because you have spent $50,000 to generate 200. But when you actually run the numbers, cost of goods are 35%, fulfillment is 5%, payment processing is at 3%, ad spend at 25%, you're left with 32% in contribution margin. That's $64,000 on $200 revenue. Now you need to factor in your fixed costs, like agency fees, payroll, software, and you're not making much, probably nothing. Meanwhile, the ROAS number sits at 4 and everyone keeps spending. This is how brands scale into a loss. They optimize for a metric that doesn't account for their structure, and they're growing top line while quietly destroying their bottom line. The moment you shift your focus from ROAS to contribution margin, everything changes. You start asking different questions, you stop chasing revenue, and you start chasing profit. Let me give you a concrete example of how things look in practice. I have a client doing solid numbers, running paid media on Meta and Google. When they came to us, their blended ROAS looked really good, the agency they were working with was reporting really good numbers, and nothing looked alarming on the surface. But they started realizing that their bank account shrinks every single month. When I actually dug into the numbers, like contribution margin and CAC, the picture was completely different. Their real blended CAC was 40% higher than the reports, and they were losing money every single month. They were over-indexing on existing customers, and as you know, especially Google loves to over-attribute on existing customers and take credit for the sales. So they were spending 60% of their budget on Google and 40% on Meta. When I started working with them, the first thing that I did is shift the budget back to Meta. We started spending 80% of the budget on Meta and 20% of the budget on Google. The immediate results were that the new customers started growing every single month. We became first order profitable, CAC reduced, and then contribution margin improved. Within 6 months, we reduced their CAC by 40%, contribution margin improved significantly, and they had a business that they can actually forecast. That's what happens when you stop optimizing for ROAS and you start optimizing for contribution margin. Obviously, based on the numbers that you get from the contribution margin, you have a target ROAS, but the North Star metric should always be contribution margin. Because if you over-index on returning customers, your contribution margin will be a lot lower than it should, but the platforms will be reporting very high ROAS and revenue. So here is what you do with all of this information. Number one, start looking at contribution margin as your North Star metric. Then based on the contribution margin, you can set targets on ROAS, CAC, and all of the others. It should be the main number that you make decisions from. Number two, calculate your CAC as often as possible. I recommend doing it at least once a week. When you do your Monday reporting, have your CAC there. And always go with blended. Never go with platform attributed CAC because, as we discussed earlier, it will over attribute. Blended CAC is the only true metric when it comes to CAC that you can have. Number three, know your contribution margin. Before you increase spend, see what state your contribution margin is. And if you're not profitable, something needs to change before you start scaling. If you don't know that number, you're flying blind. Profitable growth is not complicated. You just need to know where to look at. If you found value in this video, let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out get these videos out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.